how many of you know, about multiple sclerosis? Sclerosis multiple. Okay, so just briefly, multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune disease that affects the nervous system, and our whole body is composed of the nervous system, which is covered with a lubricant. And what multiple sclerosis is that there's this radical that starts attacking your nervous system. So then the myelin sheet, which is the lubricant, starts being eaten away, and then the nerve is exposed. Therefore, it's interfering the process of information. So which is sight, mobility, speech, cognitive abilities, you name it. I mean, our nervous system makes us also be in this world. And there is currently no cure for it because there is no way of recreating that myelin sheet. And we know absolutely nothing about, sorry, I get emotional sometimes, about what causes this. Anyway, so here I'm going to speak to you about my journey of living with multiple sclerosis. Sorry. I'm so emotional today. So I decided, I had, you get several attacks, right? So you never know what the destiny lays. And when you are diagnosed by the medical system, it really creates this sense of disempowerment, of hopelessness, because there's no cure. So, excuse me, I don't even know why. So, and there's a lot of people living with multiple sclerosis right now, thank you. And basically the biomedical model, because when you're diagnosed, they say, you know, your only hope is to take these medications, which cost, $20,000 a year, let's say. It doesn't cure you. It may prolong what your destiny is. So if your destiny is to be in a wheelchair, then you will be in one, right? So, but yeah, you don't know what can happen. So 1 year when I decided to go back to do some schooling, my background is in sociology, to go into the world of mental health, psychotherapy, yoga therapy, I decided to do my master's in social work, really looking at the individual within the social context, right? Because we can heal lots of things, but then if we are thrown back into the environment, it's really hard to move on, right? So, in my opinion, of course. And basically, I had another situation in which I had lost my vision. So I decided to do my master's thesis as an autoethnography of my experience. And what an autoethnography is, sorry if I'm not really following my slides, just going with how it feels right now. I decided to do an autoethnography, and what an autoethnography is basically is connecting the personal to the political. So really looking at, you know, the experience of living with multiple sclerosis within the current normative biomedical model of treating it, you know. So yeah, okay, I will recenter myself, sorry. So the question I had for my thesis then was, you know, whether and if so, how, ancient Amazonian shamanic wisdom traditions and rituals could support my MS healing process. I had gone for many, many years exploring different things because I thought, well, if the biomedical model is not giving me any hope, and research shows that people living with MS have a really, really rocket high chance of experiencing depression because of that lack of hope and uncertainty of whether and how the disease will progress. So I wanted to seek an ayahuasca enhance my intuitive insight, self-reflection, awareness, and self-transformation as integral elements to my MS healing process. Also, can ayahuasca facilitate a process of individuation, so transformation towards accessing my spiritual nature? Because there's a lot of research as well out there showing that people having a sense of spirituality, and I define spirituality as whatever allows you to connect with your inner being, but also with everything else around you, whether it be humanity, the cosmos, Pachamama, as another integral element of my MS healing process. And then thirdly, I wanted to see, as a social worker, as a structural social worker, which really looks at the individual within the structural barriers that exist, I wanted to see whether there was a link between spirituality and social work, so whether my own healing journey could also support myself as being an effective social worker. And please, I hope this makes sense to you, because sometimes I tend to go on a... So the methodology, as I said, it was an autoethnography, so really linking the personal to the political. And that's a little bit of a challenge, especially in the academic world, to make it, is it legit or not, right? So it's really interweaving, you know, the personal to the science, the academic world. So really linking my experience of living with MS to the wider cultural, political, and social meanings and understandings of illness and the root causes and curative beliefs of this disease. Now, disease is more of that physical, biomedical model. Illness is more of a subjective experience, is how I looked at the differentiation of both. And again, it's a comprehensive reflection on how transpersonal wisdoms can be integrated into contemporary structural social work therapeutic context. So for me, it's really important as someone who connects with transpersonal psychology, of course, to do my own work as well and to see whether these type of modalities, if you want to say, can actually be integrated in my work as a social worker for both personal and social transformation, because I feel that in order to have that social change, there needs to be change both at the personal and at the structural level. So quickly, methods and analysis. So I spent approximately a month with a curandero from a friend of mine's, Ronald Rivera, Cachique, and he offered me kindly to share the knowledge through a seminar that he called How to Become an Ayahuasquero. Of course, I don't call myself an Ayahuasquero, but for me it was really good to have more of that understanding, the history, the differences around the Amazon, the different names, the different applicabilities, and he especially related it a lot to transpersonal psychology, which for me was very important. So of course, as most of you know by now, so the dieta, isolation ceremonies, and he really emphasized the self-study. And I did a lot of journaling, personal dreams, and integrating a yoga practice. And of course, journaling, the experiences, thought, and epiphanies are very key to an autoethnography, because that is what, moving on to the analysis, you end up looking through and identifying themes, which is what I did to find my 3 findings, if you want to say. So again, interweaving the personal experience and literature to support the 3 key findings, linking my story to broader social implications and contexts. And of course, acknowledging both, ancient and modern wisdoms, which is a big piece also in transpersonal psychology. So, and of course, finally, honoring the individual experience and personal inner wisdom as valid. So just briefly, I thought some photos here you could see in the space that I was in. Of course, becoming familiar with other people's photos. And here you could see that's my data, I want to say. And 3 of the books that I brought for self-study, which were very key to me, was Carl Jung's book on Modern Man in Search of a Soul. For some reason, I was drawn to it. And the dream analysis section, and also the section on kind of modern man, the spiritual malaise of modern society. So really this disconnect with a sense of spirituality leading us into these type of mental health challenges. And the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, that's the Yoga Bible, if you want to say. It's a book that really brings about the whole how yoga as a philosophy and the essence of yoga as a science of the mind, which is the whole aim is to calm the mind. So here we're moving into my first key finding. So I found that la dieta, the ceremonies, so both the tobacco at first, como la purga, the cleanse, and then the ayahuasca ceremonies, and especially the isolation after the ceremonies. There were supposed to be people accompanying me throughout the ceremonies, and for some reason the universe wanted me to be on my own, which I found interesting because I have a tendency to always occupy myself talking or being with people and so on. So really being in isolation was very important, I think, in this process for me. I found myself crying as well. And normally I don't cry, so. And self-study supported an increased oh my God, it goes by so fast. An intuitive insight by connecting with my inner wisdom. Self-reflection on fears and emotional knots. This for me was very key in terms of the whole mind-body connection of MS. I started to start realizing and becoming aware of. Understanding the link between emotional distress and MS. So for me, really becoming aware that perhaps the manifestation of my illness is connected to emotional distress that has occurred in the past. And throughout these ceremonies and days and analyzing my dreams, I really started seeing that. And I think becoming aware is such an important piece, because then you can do the work. So I'm trying to go quickly because I have less than 5 minutes now. So the second part was, it really allowed me to basically, in brief, to connect with my inner wisdom, and really transcend, the ability, that the mind tends to always chatter and chatter and chatter, and really disconnects you from that inner voice. And the third one, which I thought was particularly interesting for me, is in one of my ceremonies, really experiencing that sense of oneness. Can't really describe it, but it just allowed me to have this epiphany and awareness that, if we could provide such modalities, transpersonal modalities like yoga or ayahuasca in our work as social workers or psychotherapists, from a psychological background or whatever that may be, we could support or facilitate, more likely, facilitate the process to connect with everything else that exists. And if that is the case, then, we're more likely to be able to create the sense of empathy or to facilitate a process. So if you're connecting with everything else that exists, then how could you want to cause harm to somebody else? So these were just kind of thoughts that were rodeando my head, So I guess the overall conclusion here, this is kind of a snapshot of my journal. So maybe I'll read it. And I really feel that ayahuasca allowed to shake my ego and awaken, connect with my inner being, the realm of my unconscious psyche, so that I could be closer to my authentic self or reconnect with after becoming aware and facing my shadows that blocked me, which is not necessarily opposite to who I've been, but the aspect of my being that is my soul, my nature, the true essence of who I am. This increased awareness facilitated the process of transformation, and in becoming aware of the shadows that energetically blocked me from being my authentic self so that I can shine. The power of joy is my gift to this world. I can definitely see it being manifested in all areas of my life and how it can also heal and at a vibrational level. I can see and feel it, especially when I'm working as a therapist. I must say that this experience has been very healing and transformative. I feel like a stronger new person, filled with joy and even a greater sense of connectedness to all that exists. I feel more passion to live life to its fullest based on the essence of my being. My direction in life seems so clear to me, clearer than ever, and so are the tools that I am now fully aware of and that are currently at my disposal. I do not need to keep searching for additional modalities to heal and to leave my sense of hope within the biomedical model disease diagnosis. So I shall deepen my awareness and utility of these tools, dreams, moon, and yoga. Thanks to La Planta Maestra, I shall always remind myself to live life joyfully, with love, without fear, and in the moment, through a spiritual path facilitated by transpersonal therapeutic modalities, thus calming the mind and thus supporting the ongoing healing of my MS. So this is just really capturing that sense of joy that was experienced at the end. Dos minutos. So the implications, I have 2 minutes. So the implications for social work, healthcare, and my professional practice. So I think this is a very key piece in terms of my journey as well, and the journey for anyone involved in being of service to others in any capacity, is the gaps for the multiple sclerosis community, a normative biomedical curing model of disease. So really the importance of the illness healing journey for creating hope and calming the mind. Because if there is such a thing, and more research is showing that there is a connection between the mind and the manifestation of physical illness, then instead of lying our hope within the biomedical model, which creates hopelessness, then at least if we would be supported in that process to complement the biomedical model with, as they call, I don't like to say alternative, complementary processes and modalities, then perhaps that would calm the mind and increase a sense of hope. And if there was such a thing as the mind-body connection, then perhaps it could even cure. I don't know. I mean, my life will just have to be, I'll have to be my own longitudinal study. And recognizing yoga and ayahuasca psychotherapeutic modalities and supporting healing journeys, I think would be really important. And just recognizing their healing benefits and integrating spirituality and social work paradigms. So really creating a comprehensive and integral approach to working towards both personal and social transformation, because often, that there's a field of work that focuses on the individual. There's a field of work that focuses on the larger macro political level. But really, they go hand in hand. So I know in social work in Canada, I can't speak for other countries, of course, the word spirituality is not even in the curriculum. It's like feared upon for some reason, and because often there's this thought that spirituality equates to religion, but it's, I personally feel that the religion is a form of spirituality, but it's not equal, So in the end, the good thing that came out also of my thesis is not only hope for myself, but part of the autoethnography, which makes it a social justice act, is that by sharing your story, the power of storytelling, if somebody else reads that or hears the story who's experiencing the same thing as you, then it provides that sense of hope to go on to their own journey. Because when I was diagnosed, what gave me hope was coming across a book of a woman who healed herself of MS. And I started following her path, and then I realized, no, I'm my own being. I have to listen, my own path. And anyways, thank you.